Just a quick reminder, this series takes you on a journey into the world of smart buildings. If you're interested in design, digital technology, and the future of buildings, this is the podcast for you. This is episode 5.
Smart buildings are our future. They're required now, our tenants need them. It's up to us to wake up and provide them.
You're listening to Smart Thinking, a podcast from WSP. I'm Matthew Marson, taking you on a journey into smart buildings. In this episode, we're talking about the digital transformation of engineering. And joining me is Nick Offer, who's the Building Services Head of Discipline for WSP in the UK. By trade, he is a mechanical engineer and actively supports our clients in design and strategy. He's the key to bridging the gap between yesterday and tomorrow. Welcome, Nick. First question for you. What is a smart building and why should we care?
Hello, Matthew. Thank you for that wonderful intro. A smart building to me is a building that comes to life. Many of the buildings we design and deliver, they've got control systems and operating systems in them that people don't understand, the users don't understand, and the people that run the building struggle to deal with. A smart building changes all that and enables a building to be used in a different way by the people that run it, simplifies it, bring complexity to life, and then more importantly enables the users and the people that want to work in that space to have an interaction with the building, understand it, work together with it, find each other in the building and interact.
With that in mind, how do you see digital shaping engineering in the future?
I think there's an awful lot about to change, and I think we've already started. The first thing we're beginning to do is understand that there is change around us, that buildings are going to be automated, that buildings are going to need to be run and designed differently. And we're also beginning to see that we need to design them differently ourselves. We're beginning to automate our process. We've already started this, and it's really helped us have more time to think about how we work. But there's a lot more to come, and we're going to begin to automate all of what we do.
Okay, so what steps are you taking towards digital engineering?
We've got an awful lot of young people in our team and people that have come through thinking very differently about computers. And we've got programming clubs. We've got a team that meet once a week, and they have a Python club. And this is really enabling us to look at the process of how we work, investing in people to give them time to think and work very differently and automate the process. We've also invested in bringing people into our business that write automated tools and software, and we're beginning to then take it even further where the lion's share of the work we do will start to be designed automatically.
During our prep for this podcast, I remember you telling me about a piece of software that you've had developed which looks at where things go in the ceilings. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, what it is at the moment, we might spend 6 to 8 weeks slowly working ourselves around the load of a building. We calculate how much heat can come into the building. We then work out what the loads are. We'd go and select equipment. We'd then design that equipment. We'd work out the flow rates for the heating and the cooling. We'd draw it all up, and it could take weeks. We've got a piece of software that does all that automatically, and it can do it within half an hour. And then draw it in 3D and create schedules of all the equipment that it's made for. So completely starts to change the process of how we work.
And what does that mean for our clients?
For the clients, it means we've got more time to think. We've got more time to coordinate. One of the things in our industry that's been difficult is the 3D element of our work. It's becoming so much more complex, and we're showing our clients far more than they've ever seen. The more they see, the more they think they should see. So our biggest challenge is time and complexity. So if we generate and keep more time, we'll have more time to coordinate and more time to get our job even better than we do now.
So how do you think the workforce will evolve given the development of these sorts of tools?
I think we're already beginning to see it. We've got quite a young workforce, not that I'm ageist, but we've got quite a lot of young people coming through our business that think very differently. I think we'll see a lot more of that. I think we're seeing people begin to think very differently about how they work and how they want to work. And if you think something can be done differently, it probably can be done differently. So I think our people will be more empowered, they'll have more time, they'll have more automation around them, which gives them time to investigate, to think, to coordinate, to work together as a team, and to help the client understand the journey he's on. Building services are really complex. I've often said that a building services engineer defines a problem that you didn't know you had in a way that you don't understand. And I think with more time going forward and more automation, we'll enable our clients to understand what we do.
So do you think it's a different skill set that an engineer will have to have?
I think it's the same skill set. I think the same knowledge, the same college courses, the same work, the same background to understand engineering and understand buildings. It takes time, it's complex, there's a lot to learn. But the process of spending weeks going through flow rates and adding flow rates together and defining schedules and making equipment will be shortened, which will give greater level of time. So I think the skills are similar, but I think as the more modern age come through that are more tech savvy, we're ready to embrace that and we're ready to work with them.
I can almost see a future with slightly different roles. So, for instance, rather than having someone that designs and does the calculations, perhaps they need to still have that understanding of it, but actually supervise some of the decisions that are made by some of these automated tools.
Obviously, my career, I spent 10, 15 years learning how to do my job. And through that process, you understand the loads. You understand that when you're working with plant and equipment that you've got the right size equipment. Very often if you'd let some of your young staff size plant and equipment for you, they get plant that's the same size as the building because there's things that they make errors with. So it's important that we have checking processes and checking procedures. The other thing that happens in our industry, we design to building regulations, so we meet specific criteria. That means it's very easy for us to check back to watts per metre squared, for example, whether the building's the right load.
What do you think to how building services will evolve as we add more web-type standard technologies into the building to control them? Do you think the days of trend and the traditional building management system are numbered, or do you think there's still a way to go?
No, I think they're very much numbered. I think the only reason I think there's a way to go is because we've got a lot to understand, and we've got an industry around us to try and convert to get them to think differently. But I think it's going to be incredibly exciting. I think it'll happen at a pace. I think we'll see more and more automation, more and more smart ways of working, more and more cloud-based services. I use an iPad for my daily life and my daily work. I can swipe up on my screen and connect to objects around me. That's how we're going to run our buildings. It's all about to change.
So that means surely there's going to be more complexity by increasing the number of integrations that are
I don't know. A
required.
bit of me thinks it would be more simplistic, because instead of the complexity of how it was working before, if I can have access to something, see something, and then I can work with it, that would enable a building to come to life. Most of our buildings now, the users can't understand the control systems. They can't go into the control systems. They can't modify them. But with certain levels of access, we're going to be able to see people interact with the building in a way they've never done.
Which I think might be something that these digital forms of technologies will be opening up. If you think about the investment that we've put into the more front-end type devices such as mobile apps, building controls have never really had that. So it would be, I think, really exciting to see what happens to our industry.
Oh, I think it's hugely exciting. And I think it's now. I think the tenants looking at buildings want this now. They want to understand how the building they're going to lease or go to work in is going to be smart for them. But immediately right now, we're not quite designing these yet. We're just at the forefront of getting started.
And my last question for you, let's say you are a fresh grad and you've just joined building services and you've got the horizon of this bold, bright digital engineering future. What would your 3 top tips to them be?
Okay. I think my first one would be have an open mind. Try to understand the complexity of what we design and the simplicity of how we can use it. So if we have an open mind and we think about what we can do, that will help us head in the right direction. I think we need to really investigate and understand and make sure we train people to see how these things can work and how we can interact with our building, and then head in the direction. And we need to inspire our clients as well as our engineers. We need to show people what these systems can do and how they're going to change how we work and run with our building. So they're pretty exciting times to come.
A big thank you to Nick Offer, Building Services Head of Discipline for WSP in the UK. In our next episode, we'll be comparing our own industry to the sorts of things that the financial services sector's done. Listen to a very special interview with Tom Hollis, who has our heads spinning with blockchains, crypto assets, and artificial intelligence. If something in this episode has piqued your interest, then have a chat with us. Email smart@wsp.com. You've been listening to Smart Thinking, a podcast from WSP. I'm Matthew Marson, and thanks for listening.